Hello there, guys, and welcome to That Anxious Gamer. I'm so excited to present this total companion guide for Baldur's Gate 3. So I'm going to be looking at every companion in the game, and I'm going to be telling you who you should choose for your very first adventure or second adventure if you're coming back into the game. So I'm actually doing this on launch day, and in the description, you'll have full timestamps. This will be fully chaptered, so you can go to any companion you want. But I don't want to waste your time, guys. Let's get right into the companion guide. I'm very excited to present this to you. So let's start off with Astarion. What do I think about Astarion? I think Astarion is a really good character. So what we have here is basically a vampire rogue. I don't want to spill too much of the beans, but it's a vampire rogue. And Astarion has a very dry, witty, kind of aristocratic personality. I like him. It depends if you like that. If you don't like dry humor, if you don't like British humor, you're not going to like Astarion. How useful is he in combat and stuff? Pretty useful. Rogues are pretty good in Baldur's Gate 3, in my opinion. And I really like Astarion. I think he's a very good character. Will he be in my starting Code S lineup? So, by the way, guys, Code S must have means this is what I'm going to be using day one first playthrough. So Astarion, I'm going to say is high A tier. He wouldn't be, in my opinion, the best companion to have, but he's really good. And I'll either use him on my first playthrough or at the very worst case, my second playthrough. I really like Astarion. Let's go on. Gale, human wizard. What do I think about Gale? Gale is kind of, I don't want to say it in a bad way, guys, but Gale is kind of average a little bit. I like Gale in one way, but the truth is on Gale, he feels more like a regular companion in other games, and I just never really had a strong attachment to Gale. I don't think he's terrible. I think actually by being a wizard, I think he's pretty good in terms of combat and just actually interacting. But the problem is about Gale is I just feel like there's so many companions in this game that you can choose that are better. That's the problem. If he was in another game, I would probably pick him up and actually like him. Probably second or third playthrough, to be completely honest. I hate to do this to you, Gale, but you're going to be going in C tier. I just don't feel like Gale is as engaging story-wise or personality-wise as some other characters. Also, I feel like just straight combat stat-wise, I feel like there's characters that basically will do better. So let's go to some characters. Now, I will say this. Every character we haven't been able to play in early access, I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk because we don't know how well the personality, story, or combat will turn out. So let's look at HALSIN. We learn a lot about HALSIN. I'm not going to spill the beans on it too much, but when you go to the Druid camp, you will learn a lot about HALSIN, and he sounds like a badass, guys. HALSIN sounds like an absolute badass. He's a druid. He's a badass druid. He kind of looks like Thor. HALSIN is awesome. Now, because of another character that I'm going to be talking about a little bit later, I don't think HALSIN is going to be in my first playthrough because of them clashing. But HALSIN is badass. He's going to be top of A tier. I'm actually going to put him ahead of Astarion. And HALSIN, if you are playing a good playthrough, if you just want to be all good guys, I think HALSIN is going to be one of your 4 players that is going to be making this journey. Now, a big part that I want to note in this is that me and my wife are probably going to be playing co-op. So we're only going to be able to have 2 companions. If you can have 3 companions, I think HALSIN may edge into Code S must-have tier. But yeah, that's a little bit on HALSIN. JAHEIRA, I believe, is actually a legacy character. Yeah, half-elf druid. So here's my problem with JAHEIRA, guys. I believe she's coming back from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. So if you come from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, I would say definitely go and check out JAHEIRA because you probably have more of an emotional connection, right? Honestly, I hate to say it, she's a druid just like HALSIN. I don't know if I would play her for at least the first couple playthroughs. I'm sure she has an engaging storyline. I'm sure she's going to be awesome. I hate to put her in B, but just visually, I think class-wise, I think HALSIN just he's the same class but looks cooler, guys. So I think it's hard to put JAHEIRA too high. And I feel like she's going to be a character that most people gravitate towards only if you played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. So if you played those games and you like her, then play her. But for me, hate to do this, but I'm going to be putting her in D tier. I just don't feel like the first couple playthroughs I'm going to be using her. What about KARLACH? Guys, KARLACH, what else can I say? Absolutely, without any question, 100% Codes, must have. I think everybody on the Baldur's Gate 3 forums and just a huge amount of people like myself have just like fallen in love with the concept of this KARLACH with like this like beating demon heart. I mean, she's a barbarian. She looks absolutely badass, just like HALSIN. She has a really cool like backstory from what we know. Now, obviously, we don't really get to mess with her very much in early access, but I'm just so engaged with her narrative and so engaged with like her personality and everything we've seen from like the Panel of Hell and just everything, guys, on KARLACH is exciting to me. I think she's Codes must have. I'm definitely going to be using her in my first playthrough, and I would recommend you do as well. I think she just stat-wise looks like a beast as well. And yeah, she's really, really, really good. And now, guys, we get to LAE'ZEL. What do I think of LAE'ZEL? Guys, I'm going to tell you what. I'm actually probably in the minority here. I think LAE'ZEL is just like kind of really, really good. She's an amazing warrior. She can become a battle master. She can just be in the front line. She can tank for you. Now, I will say this. It is a little bit, telling what type of characters I like. I have both KARLACH and LAE'ZEL, and Codes must have. The thing about LAE'ZEL that I really like is you get her right at the start of the game. I mean, no spoilers, but you literally get her like 5 minutes into the game. And I think this is the biggest thing about LAE'ZEL. She's just very easy to understand. What I really like about LAE'ZEL is you see what you get what you see. You really have a character that's very open. It's not hard to figure out, like, if you're in a dialogue, is like, will this make LAE'ZEL happy or will this make LAE'ZEL sad? Not all characters are like that. I'm looking at you, Shadowheart, which is like impossible to figure out what is going to make her happy or not. I think LAE'ZEL is just very an open book, really, really cool character. I like the strong female energy. Like, I think her and KARLACH both have a little bit different. Like, KARLACH seems to be a little bit more reserved, a little bit more like heartfelt, where LAE'ZEL is just that brutal, strong energy. She's kind of got like a Captain Janeway vibe. Like if you ever watch Star Trek, I really like LAE'ZEL. I think she's pretty badass. And for me, if I can fit her into the party, the only two things I have a problem with is those two melees. So I don't know if me and my wife are playing, if we can have both of these at the same time. However, she is really good, and I want to play with LAE'ZEL. If it's not in my first playthrough, it will absolutely be in my second playthrough, and it's just because there's so many good companions. But LAE'ZEL is awesome. I think she's awesome in combat. She's awesome in like dialogue between her. The only thing I think about LAE'ZEL that isn't great is she has very little utility for your team. So I think definitely for utility, I think like HALSIN or ASTARION or some of the other ones we're going to talk about are going to be better. So that's the only negative about LAE'ZEL. But still, amazing companion, amazing characterization. I really love LAE'ZEL. Let's talk about MINSC. This is another character like JAHEIRA that is coming back from older games. So obviously, if you played Baldur's Gate 1 or 2, then you're going to be much more engaged with this character. However, just from what I've read and seen, I would say MINSC is definitely much higher than JAHEIRA. I'm going to put him like maybe in B tier. We don't know that much about MINSC. And so because of that, I want to be careful to not like overhype him. But his character sounds fun, dude. His character sounds funny. It kind of sounds like a little bit of a humor character. I think if you have MINSC in the party, it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted. There's going to be a little bit more banter. And I think that's definitely something that, from what I've understood, is more of a part of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Obviously, Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of its own separate story. I definitely think there's going to be references to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. I definitely think, like, I'm looking up like video guides and things of that nature just to kind of get a little bit of the story. MINSC is going to be a cool character. I definitely want to include him on a playthrough. It's just not going to be the first playthrough, guys. When you can only have 3 companions or 2 if you're playing co-op with somebody else, I really don't see how MINSC is going to fit in, and I can't even put him higher than B. I'm sorry. But just kind of like Gale, I just feel like he's better than Gale, because Gale is kind of stale bread, and Gale is, I feel like, just not super engaging. I want to like him. MINSC, I like him already. So there's definitely a differentiation between these two, and I still think MINSC is over Gale. But would I replace ASTARION or HALSIN with him? Absolutely not. So I feel that's pretty much what I am on MINSC. So let's move on. Okay, guys. So now we get to MINTHARA. I believe that's how it's pronounced, MINTHARA. She is insanely cool. Now, here's the problem, guys. I don't want to put much spoilers, but you got to kind of be going for a somewhat darker playthrough if you use her. But you know what, guys? F the druids. I'm not really that big on the druid camp, to be honest with you. MINTHARA is pretty awesome. She's going in S+ tier. You start to see a pattern, guys. Strong female characters, badass characters. This isn't Captain Marvel, guys. These are actual badasses that are really, really cool, strong female leads. MINTHARA is going to create a lot of problems in your party, guys. Like, unless you're running like ASTARION or other characters that can have a little bit more duplicity, can have a little bit more, let's just say, not goody two-shoes, it's going to be harder. But here's the thing, guys. I want to talk about MINTHARA a little bit and explain why I think she's so good. She's a drow and she's a paladin. Guys, if you look, and I'm going to link those two, if you look at my race guide, I personally put drow in S+ tier. I think drow is one of the best races in the game. It has some of the best stats. It has some of the best traits. I think drow is super, super good as a race. Paladin, if you watch my class guide, and I'm going to link that as well, go check that out. Paladin is really, really a good choice for class. It's super strong. It's super easy to use. So you have a drow paladin that's a cool woman badass. So if you're not playing a goody two-shoes playthrough, then MINTHARA is going to be absolutely code S must have. The only problem I have with putting her up here is that you're going to have to choose some very hard choices. You're going to have to be willing to shed some blood. You may be using the like Ifilid Mind Flayer powers. You're definitely not. You may not be a total bad guy, but you're definitely not on the goody two-shoes good guy side if you play with MINTHARA. However, to be honest with you guys, I don't care. She's a badass. I love her. She's awesome. I'm going to keep on code S must have. All right, now we go to SHADOWHEART. SHADOWHEART, guys. I'm in pain here. Oh, SHADOWHEART, I'm going to put you in D tier. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one. I already feel the hatred because she's a cleric, guys. Let me tell you what, guys. I don't know if it's our stat spread. I've heard a lot of people say that SHADOWHEART has the worst stat spread in the game of companion characters. I've heard this from multiple people. This may be the case. I personally think, and I'm just going to say it right now, I know people are going to hate me for this. Cleric feels like it sucks in Baldur's Gate 3. You have a bunch of spells that are kind of good in a few situations, but I just don't like that playstyle, guys. I like things that actually do big damage, or you have a big talking character that really helps you. We'll get to that with WYLL. SHADOWHEART's also a big problem in dialogue because I feel like a lot of times, like, I'll choose something to make SHADOWHEART happy, and she'll be like, yeah, that was okay. Like, she's got that kind of personality where she's like hot and cold. She's a very hot and cold person. She's hiding a lot of secrets. You don't know what's going to make her happy. I actually heard they changed the character and it used to be even worse. So, like, if you like never knowing where you stand or like being in like a toxic relationship kind of situation, I mean, I'm not even talking about romances, guys. We'll probably do a guide for that too, and which characters are best romance. But if you're like single, I guess, and I don't know, I just don't. Shadowheart's not good, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. Shadowheart, she's got some things that are very interesting about her personality wise, but she's a cleric, which I told you guys I don't like. Even though I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it, and everybody's gonna tell me I'm an idiot. But I just think Shadowheart, she's, the hot and cold factor. The story's kind of interesting, but she's always hiding stuff. And if you push her if you actually push her to tell you, then she's off on that. You can't read her mind. That makes her upset. It's just a lot of things that I feel like you kind of have to walk on eggshells. You feel like you're walking on glass when you play with Shadowheart. She's in D tier, guys. I'm sorry, but she's in D tier, bottom of D tier. What do I think about Wyll? Wyll is probably an S plus tier must have, guys. And you start to see the problem. Now I have 4 people, and so I have a party of companions that are code S must have. Why is Wyll cool? Cool ass character, number one, right? He looks cool, visual design, super cool. You can tell he's kind of the guy that's been, beaten up as a kid, hurt as a kid, but he's trying to do good things. He's a good character, right? So if you can't have Minthara, let's say you just say, oh, I don't want to do a bad playthrough. We're not going to have Minthara. Then have Wyll, guys. Another thing about Wyll that is so good is he's like one of the best people to use in dialogue. His charisma is super high. He's awesome in dialogue. Like whenever I use Wyll in dialogue, not only is the dialogue engaging to listen to, but Wyll just smashes that out of the park. He almost always passes his checks. He's good in combat. I mean, Eldritch Blast is really strong. The Warlock class is quite good. It's not my favorite class in the game, but I think it's solid. I don't know. Wyll just feels like he's a well-made character. Him being a Warlock kind of makes sense. His personality kind of makes sense. His itemization and stuff feels easier. How to use him feels easier. It's like empower yourself, use Eldritch Blast, do damage. I like him. He can hit from range. That's really, really good. He has things he can get. I believe he can get Misty Step. He can get several things. We can basically go on the high ground and just pew, 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 hit people from range. Wyll is really good. He deserves Code S, must have. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed the tier list. Now I'm going to just sum up in a few words what I think. So guys, for your first playthrough, if you're playing a good playthrough, I would suggest having WYLL and KARLACH. That's if you're playing 2-player co-op like me and my wife are going to, have WYLL and KARLACH. If you're playing an evil or like not good guy playthrough, because I hate saying evil. There's no alignment system in Baldur's Gate 3, but if you're playing a not total goody two-shoes playthrough, then I would suggest having Minthara and LAE'ZEL. So Minthara and LAE'ZEL, if you're on the dark side, I guess, of the alignment, if you want to say it that way, and WYLL and KARLACH if you want to be good guys. If you don't like those choices, definitely slot in HALSIN, which is going to be like good guy, or ASTARION if you want to go the kind of darker route. So guys, we have a really, really good selection here. There's amazing characters. And if you love Legacy, guys, then have MINSC. GALE, avoid them, to be honest. I just don't know if it's going to be that good. Save that for your second or third playthrough. JAHEIRA and Shadowheart, forget they're in the game, guys. I'm sorry to say it. I know Shadowheart's right at the beginning of the game. I'm sure she has a good story. I know I'm going to get hate for this. Forget they're in the game until like your third or fourth playthrough. And then like, okay, let's see what these characters have to offer. They're like bonus, in my opinion. But yeah, that's basically the TLDR. Bad playthrough, LAE'ZEL and Minthara. Good playthrough, WYLL and KARLACH. And if you don't like those choices, good, HALSIN, bad, ASTARION. And like I said, in this game, there is no good and bad. I just want to clarify that, guys. It's all about making choices and living with consequences, which I think is so incredible. This is actually launch day, guys. I'm so hyped. Flush that like button. Hit that subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to give you more content. I can't wait to see you in the next video. I'll see you next time, guys.